Six Nations 2024, folks. Top 5 players of the round. Let's narrow things down to the kind of best of the best from that final round of Six Nations action, which saw Ireland crowned as the best team up north. Still a bit of a matter of a couple of games for them up against the Springboks in a few months' time, but we will still celebrate the Six Nations as it is. First, we'll go through the top 5, and you guys can let us know your thoughts. Also, I was joined by Nick Easter earlier today to chat the Super Saturday games, and also he joined us to kind of pick one of his players for this perfect player series that we've been doing. It was power that he got to talk about, so he picked a player who brings some power to the game. So stick around for that. Now, I should say quickly that this episode is brought to you by eToro, the official investing and trading partner of Premiership Rugby. So thanks to eToro for coming along. Tackle investing the smart way and join millions of UK investors on eToro today, the friendly platform for serious investors. eToro is a multi-asset investment platform. The value of your investment may go up or down. Your capital is at risk, but cheers to eToro for coming along. My first pick in the top 5, and before we get to Nick, I'm going to go with an Italian and Michele Lamaro. I've already talked him up loads of times. Top defensive guy in terms of tackles made in the Six Nations. That shows an absolute commitment to the team. He is the captain. He leads from the front. He, I think, was Italy's top tackler once again. I don't think he was the top tackler of the week because some of the Scottish guys outdid him in the tackle count, which kind of helps when you have like 20% of the ball part of the time in that second half. But in terms of the Italians and in terms of the entire tournament, certainly the top tackler, certainly leading from the front, and certainly I think part of the reason the Italians are having a pretty good, or have had a pretty good Six Nations campaign in 2024. Also helped get some turnovers in the game at the weekend, which was, more Tommy Reffels thing, but I think he got 3, which was equal Reffel. So adding a bit of that kind of aspect to his game. Irishman, and I've gone with Jamison Gibson Park. Kind of like Lamaro, I've talked him up a lot, and I think for good reason. The Irish attack game requires a low time to recycle the ball at ruck time, and I think nobody exemplifies that more than Jamison Gibson Park. He is just kind of elite level at getting that quick recycle ball, and Ireland's attack is largely built around it. So there's often times when Ireland's attack looks better when he's on the field, and he makes 100 bloody plus passes at the weekend, which speaks to kind of his involvement to kind of bossing that team around. So yeah, I don't think they've quite got a guy who adds that value outside of Gibson Park just yet. But how old is Gibson Park? He's in his early 30s. Might be one that they need to kind of start asking guys to copy that guy's style of play. But who knows? Andy Farrell is a smart coach, so I'm sure he can get the best out of Jamison for the next few years anyway. Now we'll quickly cut to Nick, because as part of this 5 players of the round series, and thanks to our sponsor eToro, we are building the perfect rugby player, just like you can build your ideal portfolio with eToro. So we're going to combine things like kicking, power, speed, defense, and leadership into something unstoppable on the rugby field. So Nick got power to chat about. So let's see who his pick was and his thoughts on Super Saturday. Welcome along, folks. Nick Easter joining us once again. Nick, mate, we've just experienced the joys of Super Saturday in the Six Nations. What did you think of it all?
I thought the whole tournament was brilliant. People say outside of the World Cup it's the best tournament in the world, and I think the evidence certainly of some of the games, some of the results, and some of the rugby, has never been truer. And regards Saturday, it was compelling viewing again. With England beating Ireland last week, obviously the Six Nations title was up for grabs in the second game, and Scotland, battle showed so much resilience, so much defensive fortitude. Just couldn't keep them out. I mean, Ireland were a little bit insipid first half. I think, maybe the nerves got to them a little bit. Maybe there's a bit of self-doubt in there after losing to England. But, they came wave upon wave upon wave, but just couldn't get the ball over the line. And, if you're Scottish, you're probably thinking it wasn't over the line. And you're not a massive fan of TMOs if you're Scottish, this Six Nations, it has to be said, with regards to the second game, referring to the second game against France. But, and then the first game, I mean, Italy, they're no longer really the surprise package like they were 2 years ago when they won in Cardiff. But boy, that's their favourite hunting ground now, isn't it? He has 2 wins out of the last 2 in Cardiff. The wooden spoon, I say, was up for grabs. Obviously, you wanted to avoid it. And they play some brilliant rugby and, outclassed the Welsh, who, are struggling at the moment. Their strength in depth, they just don't have the players. And maybe, well, certainly now, the struggles of the regions and, what's been going on for the last 10, 20 years in terms of the running of the game in Wales is bearing fruit in a very, very bad way as far as they're concerned. But look, let's celebrate Italy. And they should have really had 3 wins. And, the fact that they had won 1 game in the Six Nations in the last, I think it's since 2015, I think it is. I might be wrong with my stats there, but they'd won 1 game and that was 2 years ago. And now they've won 2 and drawn 1. It's brilliant for World Rugby and Six Nations Rugby. Then, we get to England, France, and boy, what an atmosphere. I mean, that just seemed to be, although the title was on the line with the Ireland-Scotland game, and, the Aviva Stadium was rocking, the vocal support, you could hear it through the TV, but that was nothing compared to the build-up on the France game. And it just brought back memories to, my occasions in playing France away. And it was in the Stade de France. France have, they've been a bit disjointed in terms of where they're playing the games with the Olympics and the Stade de France obviously being refurbed or revamped or whatever it is, trying to create a better venue for, the Paris Olympics in a few months' time. But they were under pressure to win a home game. But Lyon's a great stadium. And I thought, what a game that was. What a game. I mean, England, they have to do in the past. You've got a very emotionally charged up, motivated French team, a very powerful French team. My goodness me. I mean, what were they? 80 kilos a man in the forwards on advantage. And England weathered the storm well. Scrapped, got a little bit of luck, bounced to the ball and weathered the storm well. And unlike last week against Ireland when they played some scintillating stuff, but actually their red zone completion wasn't great. Their red zone completion was top notch. The few visits they got into the 22, they scored. Sucker punch could have been a sucker punch blow. The Tommy Freeman try, 4 or 5 minutes from time, but sadly, for an Englishman, we just gave a penalty away. In the wrong area. It was over halfway, but with a guy like Ramos able to slot those, and it was a pressure kick and fair play to him. France bagged the win, but I think what you saw there was 2 sides that started the tournament, not in great shape and have finished it on a high, even though England lost. I think, there's great improvement and strides made there and a lot of confidence in the camp.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you mentioned there was nothing really on the line with that last game, but I mean, even for me on the other side of the world, it was proper enthralling viewing. Now, you also mentioned power in your chat about the French side. Now, that's kind of part of the reason we got you on today, and thanks for coming along. Power. What is it about power that's important for a rugby team for their success? I guess both offensively and defensively.
Well, yeah, I mean, to put it in the simplest possible terms to someone who might, watch this, is the try line's in front of you and you've got to pass the ball backwards, right, to take it back to sort of understanding the game. So you've got to go forward. And there's 15 guys on the field trying to stop you. And if you're on the other side, there's 15 trying to stop them. So you need go forward. Now, look, there is space. Skill comes into it a lot. And, there is a skill to ball carrying, if you like. We're just talking about the attack side of it. And, you need it. The ability to take 2 or 3 defenders with you when you're carrying the ball creates quick ball, obviously lessens the numbers in defence for, the boys to be able to use the ball. And then from a defensive point of view, making sure you're knocking, the attackers back gives you time to set your defensive line. So, hopefully, if they don't come again, that they're going to kick the ball back to you. I suppose that's probably the simplest way of putting it. But, there's a lot of bits and pieces to, you can't just be, right, he's big and he's powerful, especially at the highest level. He's going to get us go forward. You need numbers in motion. You need options around that player, or you might need multiple power players. And you also need, a little bit of footwork. And you need the skill to be able to, tip the ball on the line, put it out the back, or maybe show and go, certainly if you're in those forward pods.
Yeah, certainly a few guys who you feel like are deceptively powerful, right? They're maybe not the biggest guys on the field, but they still seem to pack quite a punch. Now, We asked you, Nick, to think about the kind of Six Nations squads that you've seen in this 2024 year and kind of pick one guy that stands out as a guy who kind of exemplifies that kind of power game. So who did you go with and what was the kind of reasoning behind it?
Yeah, it was tough. The French have got big boys that we mentioned already. You look at England, honourable mentions, certainly in terms of some of their go forward, Ben Earl, he was mighty close in a different way, not a heavy guy, but similar to Ardy Surveyor, from your part of the world. But Ollie Lawrence, you've seen what he's added to England and Tommy Freeman as well. But I've gone with a guy that was scintillating form in the World Cup, and he's continued that in the Six Nations, and he is the cornerstone really of Irish rugby, the Six Nations champions, and that is Bundy Aki, who I think is playing his best rugby, in his twilight years. He's still in peak form really, but I think he's been sensational. Even in their loss to England, he was their standout player, and he's so consistent in what he delivers.
Yeah, he has been. He's been an interesting one for us Kiwi fans to watch because he was always kind of on the fringe of that kind of All Black squad, but he's just taken it to another level over in Ireland, hasn't he?
He has, and I go back to what I say. So you say, what makes him such a good player? Well, obviously he's got the fast twitch fibers, the attributes. His foot speed's amazing in contact. He's got great body height as well. He doesn't run upright. He's able to, run at optimum body height, but stay on his feet as well and not sort of fall over. And as I say, change of direction. But the way Ireland play with multiple options every single time, whether it be, a backline player or forwards play, or they're interlinked, which they do very well, it's because he's got those other options either side of him that allows him to make the right decision of when, either they've all bitten on him so he can give the pass, or he's got a one-on-one with the defender. And, you're never really going to get hole open up for you. Certainly at the highest level, it's all about creating one-on-ones. And, if Bundy Aki's got a one-on-one, even with a forward, but certainly, with a number 10 or a number 12, with his attributes in terms of explosive footwork, his body height, his ability to pump his legs through contact and stay on his feet, he's going to get you to go forward.
Yeah. Well, Ireland have got, it's a wee way away now, but they've got a tour of South Africa coming up at some point. South Africa's got some pretty big midfield as well. So we look forward to seeing them kind of clash and see who comes out on top with that power game. But yeah, cheers, Nick, man. It's been great to have you along, and hope to talk to you again soon.
Thanks very much, Mark. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it. Cheers, mate.
Well, there you go, folks. Those are Nick's thoughts for the games at the weekend. And Bundy Aki, certainly a powerful unit in that Irish midfield. But yeah, cheers to Nick for coming along onto the channel once again. And cheers to eToro as well. The French, I've put a player in the top 5, and I think he ended up getting man of the match. Interestingly, the footage here in New Zealand, annoyingly, for all 3 games, stopped immediately after the game. So none of the post-match stuff was shown. Like every other week, they've shown like the post-match interviews, like the interviews with the losing coach, winning coach on field. In the final week, when they're doing all the trophy presentations and whatnot, they just cut straight to the sponsor and then switch to the next program. So that was kind of annoying. So I didn't actually get to see Barret get man of the match, but I'm pretty sure he did. And I think for a pretty good reason. He was pretty safe at the back for France, having been called in to fill in Ramos's shoes a couple of weeks now. He scored a try, which is pretty good. Set up a try, which is also pretty good. Ran hard, nice dummy. He's like 1.9 something meters tall, so he's like 6 foot plus. He's still only in his very early 20s, so I think potentially a fair bit to come from him as well. Very exciting prospect. 2 more guys. I'm gonna go with Nick's pick in Bundy Aki. I actually made this pick before I had the chat with Nick, so it's not related, but Bundy Aki is absolutely in the form of his life. Power. He's got that in spades, and just he does everything really well. Do you want a midfielder who makes a bunch of tackles? Bundy Aki. Do you want him to get broken tackles when he's carrying the ball? Bundy Aki. Do you want him to clock through some run meters? Bundy Aki. He's just genuinely doing a bit of everything and is just maintaining this kind of world-class form for over 12 months now. So, yeah, really, really pleasing. When's he going to slow down? He's another one who's kind of on the wrong side of 30, but still going strong. And one more pick. I ended up going with another one of the Italian guys in Ignacio Bricks. He had more passes, I think, than any other 13 this week by some way, which shows you how key he is into that Italian attacking game. He's really high energy. He shoots up out of the line to make guys' lives miserable. Even that final try that Mason Grady scored, he knew he wasn't going to catch him, but he still chased them all the way. Just absolute commitment to the jersey. So Ignacio Bricks, I think he's another one that got man of the match. I've picked 3 of the man of the match guys. I don't do that intentionally, but yeah, I think his impact on the game was pretty big. So there you go. 5 guys for players of the round, plus Nick's thoughts on the kind of perfect player, adding power into the mix. You guys let us know your thoughts. Cheers to eToro for sponsoring the episode. Cheers for Planet Rugby for helping organise Nick to come on the show. But yeah, you guys let us know your thoughts, and we'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.